annotations are like the text, like the tables, like the dimensions, so anything that is used for documentation purposes, annotation. So let's take an example from a drawing file. So how annotations looks. For example, you can see that there are certain text, there's a leader line, there is it is showing the levels, and then you can see some details over here, like the hatching is there, but then these are the text you can see that is the annotative objects. So the text is primarily one of the annotations. Let me take it another example. So you can see the dimensions over here, and you can see the sections. Okay, you can see the text and the leader over here. So the main importance of using annotation is to document the drawing, to create it for the working drawing purpose, or the GFC, good for construction purposes. So annotation is very, very important to learn and understand while you have finished your drafting, or while you are working and you're publishing the drawings for the site or for the design finalization. Now let's see how the text commands are used, and we will be learning about the text, the different text options. So the annotation tools are basically displayed in the annotate tab of the ribbon over here. Now you can see there is a text option, there is a dimension option, there is a leader option, there is a center line option, there is a table option, there is a markup option, and there is a scale option. So here we have, so these all are annotative objects, like starting from the text to the dimension to the center line to the leaders that you use, then the tables that you use for the purpose, the markup that you'll be using for revisions and other purposes to communicate the drawing changes, and then you have the annotative scale. So annotative objects, so as I mentioned over here, the annotative objects are like the text, and there are hatches and blocks and attributes. Attributes inside a block is also an annotative object. Now, so it's very important. Now you have understood what are the annotative objects are. Now we will be understanding the first fundamental thing of annotation is the annotation scale. Now what is annotation scale? Now let me explain you like this. So let's take this drawing over here. So annotative scale is, for example, whatever sketch you do in AutoCAD, you do it in the full scale. But when you print it, let's, for example, I take a layout. So we create sheets of it. So the understanding is the sheets are available in A0, A1, A2, A3, A4, A5 size. So the lines and the text are drawn. So annotation scale. So what is an annotation scale? Now imagine that there is a drawing which is here. So annotation scale is the scale that controls the display of the text in the screen, so that when it is printed, when it is plotted in a sheet, the size of the text remains the same. So the idea of having the annotation scale brought into the CAD drafting is to make the text sizes uniform, the hatch pattern, the spaces between the hatch pattern uniform, irrespective of what scale you are using in the sheet. So in AutoCAD, we have got two spaces. You can see that you have a model space and you have a paper space. So paper space is the sheet area. So this is a sheet area. It can be A0, A3, A1, A2, whatever sheet area is. So the moment you bring this particular drawing into the sheet, it has to be scaled according to the sheet size. So in order to control the size of the text while in the sheet, when the sheet gets scaled up, we use the annotation scale. So here we can see that in this particular project there is a sheet over here, and here you can see that in the sheet there is a particular size of the sheet, and in the sheet you have the text. The good thing about the text is that the text are uniformly scaled. So you're having a scale of, let's say, 1.5 inch or 1 feet. So there are various viewports over here, but even though there are different viewports, but you can see that how the scale or the annotations, the sizes of these annotations and the text are not varying. So this is only because of the annotation scale. So let's take an example of into the week 4 challenge. So here we have this model of the week 4 challenge you have seen. So here basically in this particular layout there are certain annotation objects like you can see that there is a dimension, there is a text. So here we will see that how annotation scale works. So first thing that you have to understand about the annotation scale is the scale over here in the status bar. So here the scaling can be done with the help of the options over here. So right now, because we are into feet and inches, so the scaling is like 1 feet. So if you take a scale of, let's say, 1/16 of 1 feet, so it's a 0.52, that means it is a 1/16 inch is equal to 1 feet in actual. That means when it will print the scale of the view which will be printed would be 1 feet is equal to 1/16 inch. So we can have a custom scales like 1:100, 1:15, or whatever it is. So you can come over here and see the custom scale here. So you can add the custom scale. Let's say I want to add a custom scale, let's say name appearing in this, say I want to have a custom scale of 1:100. That means 1 paper unit is 100 drawing units. So you can have a custom scale of 1:100. So I can select that scale from here. So what the idea, so this is 1%. The idea is, it is not that the drawing is getting shrinked. It is basically the annotation object, the size of the annotation object, be it the dimension, be it the hatch, be it the leaders, will basically change in the screen to fit in the paper, right? So how it works, let us see. First of all, let's see what is an annotation scale and how it works. So here we have this text, and in the properties you can find that there is something called the text. We are taking an example of a text because we will be doing the text. So here we have the annotation scale. So you can make a particular text object as annotative or non-annotative. So if you make it no, that means it is despite of the fact that the scale over here, the annotation scale changes, the text will not differ. But if you are making it annotative, then you have to define the annotative scale. So if you click over here, so here you have the list of scale. Now the list of scales says 1/16 is equal to 1 feet. That means this particular object which is annotative over here will be displayed only in the 1/16 inch. So there is something called, here are 3 options: show annotative objects. So if you put it off, so you can put it on and off over here to display the annotative objects and other things. So if I change the scale over here, now let's say I select it and make, so you have got 2 sizes over here. Now look into it. Here we have the size of the text height. If you look into the text, so I select this text. So you can see that there's a paper text height and there's a model text height. So here the paper text height is 0 and the model text height is 9 inches. So what is the paper text size and what is the annotative text height, we will see. So now here, let's say I make the paper text height as 3 inches. That means what is happening is the moment I make the paper text size as 3 inches, automatically the object will be scaled to the scale that we are using. Like say 1 inch is equal to 1/16 inch is 1 feet. So it will be the 3 inch will become 48 feet in the model, so that when it goes to the layout, it will be scaled and scaled to 3 inches. So this is the annotative scale. So let's say if I take a scale of, let's say 1:100. So what will happen? So if I select this one and say okay, so here I will be taking the 1:100 at the scale, and so let's put here the current scale as 1:100. So what is happening is this particular text will now become 25 feet. That is, it will be multiplied by the scale factor, let's say the 100. So 25 feet means 3 inches multiplied by 100 is 300 inches, which in return is 25 feet. So you can see that as I change the annotative scale, I make it 1:1 1 or 1 is to 100. Now in the 1 is to 1, okay, so now you see that the moment I made this 1 is to 1, so here see the thing is that if I click this, so the object, the annotative object is not visible, because the annotative object will only be visible at the scale it is defined. For example, 1 is to 100 or 1/16 inch or 1 feet. So this is the function of this button is for. For example, let's say, so the moment you select this, so again let's put all the buttons on. So this is the button which is for the annotation scale 2 of the current view, and then you have this is add scales to the annotative object when the annotation scale changes. So what happens is actually, let's say paper text height is 3 inches, fine. So let's change it to the value. So you have got this 1 is to 100 and 1/16. So two lists are there in the annotation object scale. Now if you want to add more scales over here so that this text adopts to all these scales that we change, so you click on this particular button, and you know what will happen is, if you change 1/4 inch, now what is happening is this particular scale is getting reported in the dialog box and it is getting added. It means that now this particular annotative object will be displayed in the following 3 scales: 1/16 inch, 1 feet, and 1 is to 100. Let's now change it to, let's say, 1/8 inch is 1 feet. Now again you see that this particular, so click on the properties palette and choose the annotative scale button over here. Now you can see annotation object scale. Now it is getting reported over here. That means now this particular annotation is visible in the scale 1/8 inch. Now let's say show so if I put it off, so what will happen? Now only 3 annotation scale object scale are there, 4 in fact, including 1 is to 100. So if I make the scale to any other scale apart from what is in the list, so you will see that there is no change. I mean, it is taking the 1/16. It is not similar to what is happening, and if you click on this, it will not be displayed. Now let us take an example. So you have this text over here. So let me put it like this. Now let's take an example. Now you have understood what is the annotation scale and how do we do it. So we can do it for the dimension, we can do it for the text, and we can do it for the other object. So let's say I put it as no, and let me take the height as, so let me match this property of the height. So I can match this with this. Okay, now let's say there are a bunch of text over here. So I want to use these particular tools here. So it can be done from here also. The scale list can be seen from here. So this is the same thing that you see here, the annotation scale list, right? So okay, and apart from that, you have this delete scale. You can do it, add current scale. Okay, so we can see that you know how the current scale can be added to the object that has been there. But first of all, let's say, let me make these 4 text as annotative. So you select all the 4 and make them annotative. So what you do is you select all 4 of them and make it annotative. I say yes. Now I have the moment you click on this, you can find that if you hover on this, there will be icon that is displayed. This icon is for that this object is annotative. Now if you place this icon into other objects, it will not be displayed. Now let's see the options of these 3 buttons. So this says show annotation object. So let it be over here disabled right now. Now let's see what are the scales in which I am going to take the print. That means what are the scales I am going to have in my particular layout. That means the output in which scales I want to do. So let's put those scales over here and then see if those annotation scales are there as per the scale of this particular view. So let's say I create some custom scales. I create a scale of, let's say, 1:50, right? So I say 50. So this is a custom scale. I say 1:25 means 25 drawing units is equal to 1 paper unit. So I say 1:25, and then I create a scale. Let's say add it to 1:100. So now I am having 3 scales that I have added over here. Let's say 1:100 is already there, so I make it as 1:10. That's fine. So let me make it as 1:10. Okay, so now you created these scales 1:50, 25 and 10. Right, now let's make this particular scale of the view for the annotative scale. So this is the annotation scale of the current view. That means at what scale the annotative objects will behave in this particular view. So click on this particular annotation scale and select the first annotation scale that you have created. So let me go there and see. Okay, so I go for the custom. So what I need to do is okay, so let me add it once again. I think so let's say 1:10. I say 10. Okay, then I add 1:50. So I added 2 scales over here, 1:10 and 1:50. So it will be visible over here. So let's say the 10%. I mean 1:10 means the 10%, 10 out of 100. Okay, so now the annotation scale is 10%. Now you can see that since the object got invisible. Why? Because the 1:10 scale is not defined in the annotation scale of the object. Now see why it is so. To display this object, just place on the button over here, show annotation object. That means whether the scale is defined or not, the objects will be displayed. Now let's see what happened due to which the display went away. So select the objects that was annotative, all the objects, and see that what are the annotative scale that is there for the object scale list to display. So over here I don't have the scale 1:10. So if I want to add this, so I say I want to add 1:10, I want to add 1:50, and I want to add 1:100. So what happens actually, so all these scales are now defined for these text. So the moment you define it, the object that is here is scaled down. So because you have this so now you need to give the model text height scale to 0.5. So let's say I want the paper text height, that means in the paper it should be like in 3 inch. So what will happen that the moment you say 3 inch, the model text height has to be 2 feet 6 inches, and it will be scaled 10 times over here. But if you want the model text height to be constant, you don't require a paper text height, and you want that, you know, so you press enter over here. So let us put first as an annotation no, and paper, right? So you go for S and click on it. So I go for 0, apply, close. So now it is not changing because of the fact that it has taken the so let me come to the initial point, because in the style it has been defined. So in this case what is happening is the model text height is 0.5 inches. So if the scale is, let's say I change the scale to 1:50, so you will see that the model text height is 2.3 inches. It will change. In fact, you can see the scale is changed, and let's say I change it to, let's say 1:100. Now the model text height becomes 4.7. But if, let's say I give a paper height scale as 1 inch, so with the factor of this 1:100, it is multiplied. 100 into 1 inch is 100 inches. So model text height becomes 8 feet 4 inches here. So what is happening is here the annotative scale is changing the display of the model text height, because the paper text height has been changed. So it is we will be doing it in detail, but the idea of making you understand about what the annotative scales are, because the moment you take the print will be taken as 1:, whatever the view scale is, and the size of the text will remain constant. So here, then you have this 3 option: add scale to annotative object. Now let's say you have this annotative object over here, and is the text over here, and you make it annotative here. So here what is happening is you have this text, and there is an annotative scale. Current scale is 1:100, which is added to the list. So if, let's say, apart from that, let's say if I change the annotation scale to 1:50, so what is happening is the size is not getting changed because it is not reported in the object annotation object scale. So if I want to report this here, there are 2 things I can do. First is add current scale. So if you click on this, select the text, what will happen? The text, basically the text that you have selected over here is has now the annotative scale that is there here in the view, right? It is 1:50. Let us repeat it again. Now this text will now be visible in the screen only for the 2 scale value, that is 1:50 and 1:100. So if I change the scale value to any other, let's say I take 1:1, so I can see now it is taking the 1:100 value. So but you have the 1:1 factor, so if you put it off, it will not be displayed because the annotation scale is not defined for this particular scale that you have used in the view. So friends, annotation scale probably may be a bit confusing, but it is a very useful task. So here let us repeat it again. Annotation scale is a scale that is given to an annotative object so that it take the scale as a consideration. It changes the size as the scale changes. So let's do a quick review of it. Let's say I have a text over here, and currently the size of the text that is 9 inches. That means the height of the text is 9 inches. So if you have, let's say, if you go to the to a sheet and take a print, and you say you want to print it at 1:1, then it will be printed as 9 inches. But if you want to print as 1:2, then it will be printed as 4.5 inches. So the text height will change as per the scale that you're doing, but that is what we don't want in the practice of civil drafting. We want the text height to be same. So there is a way. First of all, to make it uniform and uniform to the scale. That means the annotation object should scale itself as per the scale that you had given over here. So how it is done? First of all, make it annotative. Select the object, make it annotative, and then here in the annotative scale, click on the annotative scale button over here and add the scale for which you want this behavior to happen. Let's say I want to have the behavior happen for the following scale factor. Let's say for the 1/8 inch. So what does 1/8 inch of 1 feet means? Because I'm in the feet inches. So it is somewhat like if I take a 1/8 inch, 1 feet means 1:96, means 1/8 inch is equal to 12 inch. That means 1 inch in paper is 96 unit in the model. So it is 1:96. The scale will be 1:96. So I take 1/8 inches 1 feet, and then I add another scale to this text. Let's say I take 1/2 inches 1 feet. So the scale is 1/2 inch is equal to 12 inch. That means 1 inch is equal to 24. That means the scale is 1:24. Then I take another scale as 1/4 inch as 1 feet. That means 1/4 inch is equal to 12 inches. That means 1/4 inch, 1 inch is equal to 48 inch. 48 inch in paper, in the model is equal to 1 inch in paper. So these are the scales that I have taken for considering the scaling of this particular text over here. So I say okay. So now here with this I can show annotation object. I can basically control the display of the objects which are controlled by this scale. For example, I have 1:, the scale that I have taken is 1 is to half inch is equal to 1 feet, that is 1 is to 24. So now you can see that because the annotation scale is playing its part, so the moment you click on it, so you can see that the model text is 18 feet height, and the paper text height becomes 9 inch. That means 9 inch into 48 is the 18 feet actually. So it keeps on changing. Now if you select the annotation scale over here, now this is the same scale that you have done. Now let's say if you select the scale that again you have defined, for example, you have taken the scale for this as 1/4 inch is 1 feet. So here if you change the view scale to 1/4 inch is 1 feet, you can see that the text is now, the model text height has changes to 36 inches. The paper text height is constant. So this is good. So that means at any particular time I take a print, irrespective of the scale what is there in the view, the annotation scale is basically changing the model text height that is visible in the screen, so that you can take the print of it. So this is the how it works. So then you have this, let's say if I want the paper text height to be 3 inches, so that's what, so here it goes. So there are different scales. Now let's say I select a scale which is not defined for this text, so I take it, let's say 316. So if this is off, show annotation object is not put on, it will not be displayed. So if the moment I put it on, it will be displayed over here, and you can see that the moment you click on it, the changes, the scales are given over here. Now for 3/6 inches is 1 feet. This object is basically not taking the scale, so here the annotative scale. So if I want that this object should adopt to this scale, so I select this object and add current scale. I can have this option, and now this will change. So this is the annotative scale that I wanted to discuss with you. Now the next thing that I wanted to discuss with you is to write the text, how you write the text, and we will be seeing that what are the ways by which we can write the text, how the fonts are selected, how the colors are selected, how the style is selected. So this is the drawing. So you know the texts are written in the drawings in order to communicate what is there. Like for example, for the tags, for the information, for the notes, and there are a lot of things that we use the text. So let's start with learning text now.